Alright, so we got congruent triangles. This time we're going to work with some right triangles. Alright, and I want to prove that these two triangles are congruent. I want to prove that this triangle is congruent to this one and that this triangle is congruent to that one. Okay? So, what I'm looking for is that the triangle ABC is congruent to the triangle. Well, I don't know yet, right? Once I set this in motion, right, I need to know something. So what's going on here? And there's some other things have to be seen. First of all, we have to have something like that. Then we could have something like this, and now we're ready to go. Okay? So they have to give you more than just the triangles. You can't have just, a couple of triangles and prove that they're congruent if you don't have something that's congruent, right? So now when I look at it, I can go, okay, ABC. We'll call A red, and that'll be across from this guy, right? So that means the angle across from this is the one we're talking about with the red. And then the purple, well, since these are brown, we'll just keep those brown. And the purple will just be these guys, right? They're across from the one that we don't know if they're congruent or not. But we do know that these legs are congruent. Okay? We also know that these legs are congruent. And that these angles across from these legs are hopefully congruent. Right? So if we look at A, B, C, now that I have a color diagram, I can go A is to F, right? So triangle A is to F, sorry about that. Okay, and then we're going to B. B is the right angle, so that would be to E, right? And then C is that purple one, so we said that that should be the same as D. And we don't know it unless we have some rules. But in this case, we know what? We know that AC is congruent to DF because it's given. Right? We know that BC is congruent to DE because it's given. Okay? We also know that angle B is congruent to angle E, definition of a right angle. Right? Because they're right angles, they're 90 degrees. They have to be the same, right? So now we have side-side angle or angle-angle-side. Or sorry, angle-side-side. But angle-side-side only works if it's right. It is right. The other thing we have is what's called hypotenuse leg. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. We really want to learn this because next semester we're going to be using these hypotenuses a lot. Okay? So hypotenuse, and then the legs make up the right angle. And we have a leg because that's the one that was given to us. So D and E is congruent to B and C. So we have what's called hypotenuse leg. Okay? And that's how we would prove that. Now, all I'm asking from you on the test, you have to do one proof. The rest of them is, tell me what's going on here. Oh, yeah, they're congruent. HL. Or, no, they're not congruent. Right? They're either congruent, HL, congruent, AAS, congruent, SAS, congruent, SSS, congruent, ASS or ASA, or they're not. Okay? If we look at this guy, this could be another example. Okay? What I want to look at is my final conclusion is going to be triangle. Let's just say 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I put B. 3, right? Triangle 1, 2, 3. And then let's line these up. Again, 1 is across from this guy. So across from this guy would be 6. So we'll call those the brown ones. So that would be congruent to triangle 6. And then let's go with some orange. 1, 2 is this guy, right? Now it's across from this one. So these two are congruent. They're across from 3, and this is across from 4, right? So this has to be the one we're talking about, right? Because we already talked about 6, and we know that 3 and 4 are going to be congruent to each other because they're both right. So we're looking for 2 to be congruent to 5. So it's going to go 6, 5, and then 4 in this case. 4 will be our red. Okay? And so how will we get there? Okay? The first thing I know is this blue part. From 1 to 2, side 1, so 1 to 2, right? This side. That's congruent to this side 5 to 6 because it's given. Right? The other thing I know is these two reds. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 4 because of the definition of a right angle. Right angles are congruent. Okay? Is there anything else? I need 3 things, right? We always need 3 pieces. We have 2 angles. We have a side. So I'm looking for an angle or a side. Is there an angle or a side that's congruent? Anyone. 1, 1. Someone. Anyone. Someone. Help me. I'm drowning. We're tired. I'm sick. We all want to go home. But we got to do this. Does anyone notice anything that is the same?
On what?
On this. Do they share a side?
Yeah.
What side do they share?
3 to 2 and 4 to 5.
Sure. 2 to 3. So the side 2 to 3 is shared with 5 to 4, right? Because that has to be the same, right? And remember, they're the same due to reflexive. Once I know that, I have a side, I have a leg, I have a hypotenuse, I have a leg, I have a hypotenuse, I have hypotenuse leg. It's that easy. Alright guys, this week we're working on this.